Welcome to another edition of Unscripted and Unstoppable. I am Laureen Quick, your host, and I am delighted, absolutely delighted that you are here either listening or watching. Today is going to be an amazing conversation. This month, we are focusing on the concept or idea of integration. That means we're not rushing into reinvention. We're not trying to figure everything out. But instead, what we're doing is we're learning to make sense of what we have lived through and how those experiences have continued to live in us. Because for many women, midlife isn't just a time of change, it's a time when the body begins to speak more clearly. Old patterns surface, emotions that were once manageable suddenly rise closer to the surface, and sometimes there's just this quiet awareness that something is not quite right, and actually that something deeper inside us is asking for our attention. Today's conversation is right at the heart of all of that. We will be exploring what it means to let the body lead, how understanding safety, the nervous system, and embodiment can together begin to shift patterns in us that have been with us for years, sometimes decades. Today, I am joined by Sharon Laflamme. She is founder of Creating Serenity Now. Sharon is a certified somatic experiencing practitioner who brings together her background in human behavior, yoga, health, meditation, and energy work to help people transform pain into peace. Her work focuses on helping individuals regulate the nervous system, resolve trauma symptoms, and reconnect with a sense of safety in their own bodies. Often years after dysregulation, that has shown up as anxiety, chronic stress, or physical symptoms. Sharon is also a certified Kripalu yoga teacher, a member of the Polyvaga Institute, an online course creator, and a passionate advocate for helping people feel at home with themselves once again. In this conversation, we are going to explore how early life experiences shape the nervous system, why safety is something we feel, not something we think, and how even small shifts in awareness can begin to change how we live inside our bodies. And Sharon will also, at the end, will be sharing a simple guided practice that you can use to begin experiencing this for yourself as well. With that, let's just jump right in. And Sharon, I'm just going to hit you with the first question. Many people hear the word embodiment, but aren't exactly sure what that means. So I think it would be good to start with how would you describe that term in simple terms that anyone could understand?
Well, thank you for having me here today, Laureen. I am so excited. And what a big question. I'm going to start out by saying disembodiment is something you have to feel. You have to reconnect yourself back to the parts of you that we were disconnected due to socialization, not being parented, and having our attachment needs met, maybe being in a very structured military like home, or just not having a caregiver there that take care of your basic needs. So this disconnect means we don't feel our body like we can. And so part of that is simple, simple, simple. I'm going to make this example and see if this can connect. Because when we're embodied, we feel everything. We sense it, we feel it, we use all of our senses. Much like when you started writing, It was clumsy. You didn't know how to hold it. You didn't know the right pressure. You didn't have the capacity to smoothly make your letters, the dexterity, the pressure. I've got the sensitivity, the precision, the nimbleness, the articulation. This happened because you did it over and over and over and over. And we built the capacity, we built the neural pathway, we built everything so that this is an extension of ourself and we can feel it. We know what it's going to do. We don't have to think about it because if we're embodied, we don't think. It has been built in our pathway. Our nervous system has learned it because we did it over and over and over, which is also how it learned to feel anxious because we lived in a household where we weren't safe. And so our body's anxious is saying to you, I'm not safe. And I'm gonna stop there. How's that?
I think that's great. So the idea to me, I'm going to rephrase back, is you know what first you begin with disembodiment. We know that we don't feel connected to ourselves, and we sense that. We can understand that.
And that shows up with the symptoms that we talked about. So many symptoms, most illnesses are part of the dysregulated nervous system, which if you any of you have taken the ACEs score, it's a very simple score, and it will tell you kind of like how your childhood is affecting you.
But I want to go back to the pen then. So then as a child, an example of embodiment would be when I'm completely conscious and aware of how I'm holding the pen. Is that right? Or
Well,
is it after I have learned to hold it and it is one with me?
you're embodied with it when you're it's one with you, that
Okay.
you have built that. So much of our ability to feel gets cut off very early because we can't be our authentic self because I'm crying and mom and dad are yelling at me not to. Or I know if I get angry, I can't show that expression. Or I know if I'm sad, I can't show that expression. It's not a welcome thing to have. So we learn to repress, suppress, and not have our authentic emotions. The fact that we had to disassociate from our authentic emotions and learn adaptive behaviors,
Mhm.
that disassociates us to a degree of we aren't fully embodied because the embodiment was so uncomfortable when we were getting humiliated or shamed or guilted. It was so uncomfortable in our body, we had to cut it off.
Mhm. So when I'm feeling disembodied, I'm going to feel awkward, disconnected, um, not in flow.
And then there's also some of those, and maybe I would also add because most of us are disembodied. So how do I know what embodiment is? And I'm
Mhm.
hoping our exercise will help with that.
Okay,
But
good.
it's like, how do I know what it is if I haven't experienced it? So what you would experience possibly is when we're totally centered, connected, safe, our brain is equally balanced. We're using both brain hemispheres. Usually we're left-brained because of the way we're brought up. And we have this creative, inspirational part, and our body is in sync because it's safe. So it's detoxing and it's nourishing us, and every system is running on base for my perfect harmony and health because that's how I was designed to be, is in perfect harmony, perfect balance, perfect alignment. And that's where I feel confident and safe and secure and able to be my best self. And how many people can say that they feel that?
Moments, right? We often have moments of that sense, and for me that is, I work with the sort of these arcs of transformation, and what you're describing to me is radiance. There's a total alignment.
Love it.
And it is, we get glimpses of it, I think, but we could, as we evolve and we work on ourselves, we can learn to live more and more in that space. And of course, that's our work.
And
ultimately.
and what you were saying, I love that radiance. But what our somatic experiencing people believe, and I believe, we're always trying to regulate ourselves. So that radiance might come from the illicit drug you use, or the drinking that you do, or the shopping that you do, or the sex that you do, or whatever, because we're always trying to regulate and feel better in our body to find that our body innately wants to be in that homeostatic, balanced, perfect state. And it doesn't know how to get there if it didn't have that experience.
Yeah. And so then of course we become addicted and that leads us down another path of dysfunction and ultimately disconnection. Um, okay, good. This is good. I'm getting a clearer picture in my mind of what that term means, embodiment. And I want to shift a little bit in the conversation and ask you now. I know when we've talked before, Sharon, you've talked about the nervous system and the idea of safety. And so my question really around this is why is safety the foundation for healing and regulation? Can you speak a little more to that?
Yes, and I'm trying to think how I want to present this. Um, when we're very, very young and we're first born, we don't have a ventral vagal nervous system, and then our brain isn't fully matured either, right? All our wiring needs to be wired. So when we don't have a caregiver that's there for us. So what happens is every emotion is energy that rises up. So the little baby that's crying and screaming cannot calm itself without a caregiver holding it, using their nervous system to build that baby's nervous system. It's
Hmm.
called co-regulation. So each time that baby rises up into a cry and I'm not being fed, or I'm too cold and I'm not being taken care of, and that doesn't get completed because the energy, we're meant to be like an instrument, like a guitar, like this strum it, and the music rises and then it falls and completes. That's your integration right there. We're going to talk about. So if the emotion rises, but baby doesn't get need, nobody shows up, that emotion didn't complete and it stays in the body. Each time that happens, because this is danger to a baby. This high amount of intense crying and activation is danger, danger. And if that little body doesn't come back to safety, oh, you're okay, and mama tells you you're okay, and that body says, oh, I'm okay, that's safety. When that body can limp over mama's shoulder, totally doesn't have to hold anything because it's totally trusting, totally safe. That is a body, embodied sense. That body doesn't have to show up. That body doesn't have to hold that energy. And so, therefore, um, which is why I said many people don't know what safety is, because that is when we are utterly okay. Our brain even shuts down because the brain is there to keep you safe. The body is always keeping you safe. And when it responds with symptoms that you don't like, that's its messages saying, we need to attend to something. And like you said, in midlife, all this stuff starts showing up because it's time to start healing this because we've lived with it too long. Um, and and I'm hoping I'm answering. And the only other thing I'm going to say is, um, if we didn't feel safe, we need to find that. That's what our my work is. We need to teach that body to feel safe. And oftentimes that's really scary because the nervous system learns, just like we did over and over and over, it learned how to get activated really well, but it doesn't know how to get relaxed and safe and happy really well because we didn't practice it.
Mhm.
And that is paramount to feeling better and the body being healed and moving into other states, because when a body is safe, not only the brain doesn't need to be acting, and the body is healing, but we have better thoughts. If I'm guarded, I think that person's going to hurt me. But if I'm safe, you're my friend. I like you. I'm going to have better thoughts. My emotional state's going to be more stable and happy. My whole body and life is going to be in a better state.
All right. So let me unpack that a little bit because there was a lot
Oh,
there.
I know.
It sounds like to me what happens is when we are children, when we're born and are babies, we have the adults in our life who help us process those emotions, not just on a verbal, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. I mean, that's part of it, but there is a physiological connection between, for example, mother and child that allows the baby to calm down. So the baby kind of takes a ride, hitchhikes onto the mother's ability to calm down, and to feel safe. And so for most of our childhood, we rely on, or for a lot of our childhood, we rely on other people to provide that sense of safety. But then at some point in our growth and development, we also need to learn how to provide that for ourselves. And for many of us, we don't. We don't learn that. And I'm not talking about going to school to learn it. I'm talking about we physiologically don't learn it. So we then start relying on other people or other things to give us a sense of safety, but that's not real. We need to be able to, as functioning, healthy adults, calm ourselves down when we're
And that,
feeling threatened.
yes, and that's called self-regulation. You did a beautiful job.
Okay.
We're meant to be self-regulating humans. Our nervous system can take a hit, get up high, feel intense fear, and it should come complete and go out and be done. And that's why the work of Peter Levine and the somatic experiencing work that I certified in, his first book, Waking the Tiger, because the tiger is in jeopardy all the time, but it doesn't have heart disease. It doesn't have high blood pressure. It doesn't have ulcers. It's still having babies. It knows how to regulate all that. Every system comes back to, I'm okay. I'm going to lay under this tree in the sun and everything's okay. But humans, we don't have that. And a lot of it is because we didn't have a co-regulating human that helped our physiology come back to the safety, which is called generational trauma. But, and some of it is we also created maladaptive behaviors to feel okay. And we rely on them, which is why by the time we're 40 and 50, sometimes even earlier, these behaviors end up hurting us. They may have gotten us through, but now they're actually hurting us and keeping us in an unhealthy state.
I totally agree. And I'll bring in a personal example of that. A few years back, I had an injury that caused me to basically have to stop hiking and just kind of rest a lot. I rested a lot for months. And what came out of that was a surge of anxiety. And since that experience, what I've learned is I have had a fairly high level of anxiety most of my life. This surge just took me to a whole new level, and I could not bring myself back down. I was kind of stuck at this level and ended up going into therapy. Had to work with a therapist to teach me these well, I don't know what the term is, but to teach me how to calm myself back down, how to take myself out of that cycle and relax, 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 relax. And I'm still doing it. I'm still learning how to
That's
recognize this cycle and how to intervene in it before I go into a swirling circle of anxiety that becomes debilitating. Yeah.
yes, and your experience is much like most of ours because there always has been this underlying anxiety because the nervous system always stayed somewhere, not all the way down. And so each experience, we get more hypervigilant. We have a harder time getting out of it because we never learned how to get out of it. Nobody ever showed us, or we didn't do the practices like you were taught. My whole YouTube channel has so much people on how to feel better in your body. But the underlying thing that I think is really important to know is because our nervous system didn't really learn safety and stuff, we can breathe through it, we can yoga through it, we can think better thoughts, we can find a little bit better state. But until, if you notice that you get triggered and overreact, or you can't get it down, usually there's an underlying amount of nervous system intense activation energy in the system that needs to be worked. That's the deep work that I do with my clients and that's not anything that happens overnight. You can breathe and feel better, and you can make attempts at feeling better. But what I found, and I did that, I mean, I got to be a yoga teacher and meditation teacher, and it really helped. But my body still didn't live in a healthy state, and I needed to do the deep work to work on the underlying nervous system dysregulation, meaning I'm not really at my safe homeostatic perfect health, and there's probably very few people that are, because society is designed to keep us in a controlled, unhealthy state.
And I would agree with everything you said. My experience was the first year of this work, it was working on tools
Yes.
and developing the breathing practice, the relaxation techniques. And then ended up changing therapists. And the next level took me deep into my childhood.
Mhm.
And I mean, I was always one of those people that said, I don't want to talk about my childhood. My childhood is over with. I'm a grown adult now. Let's focus on what's going on right now. And what I have learned in the last year is, oh, no, 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 no. There is a whole lot of stuff that
I
happened in my
love that.
childhood. Yeah.
And what really draws people to this work, actually, usually mental health workers say, I think you need somatic work. But we do this work and you don't even have to talk about it. And talking about your story can just be as activating as living the activation, because the body responds to a thought that's scary. So we work, you don't even have to talk about anything. We work with the body. We work with what's showing up in the body, because all that energy is going somewhere and it is showing up in the body, hurting you. And that's what we work with the body. And there is a certain amount of talking and things that we do, but we want to look into sensation. We want to look into maybe a visualization that shows up, or a feeling that shows up, or a behavior that might have shown up that is projecting itself out because it's been locked inside, and we want to reach it.
So,
And just like you're, oh, sorry.
no. So if I went to you for somatic work, would I like lay on a table and you work on me by how do you do that?
Just like we're doing.
Okay.
But I'm also going to invite the listeners, if they're watching, if you turned off your video and you didn't have to be seen, you would notice that your body responds, like it goes, like, oh, I don't have to show up. I don't have to be seen. I don't have to be evaluated or judged. And the body always neuroceptively and interoceptively and orientating to know, am I safe now or am I not? Um, so I've kind of lost track of your actual question.
No, but so what would it be like to have somatic work done?
Oh,
So
yes.
what you're saying is you create experiences that allow me to experience that calmness.
So,
Like, so I know it.
that's nope. We would work through via Zoom. I used to work before COVID in person, but we are teaching you, and I call it play, to know what your body's saying, to feel what it's telling you. And that means you're in control, and you always take control. You are the priority, your body is the priority. We never put you in a position that you feel unsafe, or doing something you don't want to do, or talking about something you might want to sit. And I invite people, what happens in your body when you just heard yourself say, I was angry about that? Where does that show up? And I invite you to go inside. And we work on the superficial stuff of day to day, and we learn, I can process this and feel okay. I didn't die. I could be with her, and I felt safe enough that I could feel this, because when we start feeling safe, that's vulnerable to open our heart and body. That's never been safe in my world. I could get in trouble. So we practice feeling vulnerable. We practice feeling safe. We practice bringing up the feelings, letting them rise. We could spend Gosh, the other day I was with somebody, we must have spent 10 minutes on a feeling of nausea in the stomach that was wanting to come up from deep childhood wounds. And we just waited for it. We just said, we're here for you. Can you be with your body? And that's the thing. We're learning to be with our sensations and feelings. And that's not easy because we've learned to cut them away, shut them off, pretend they don't exist. And so we could do it. I invite shut off your camera, lay down. What does your body feel like it needs? We worked for a little while and I said, would your body like to change its positions? Ask it. What does it need? It wants to lay down. Lay down, support it, give it what it needs, just like the rest that you provided when you were going through. The body needs rest. Rest. It's telling you that's what I need.
Okay. So if I was to define somatic therapy, it would really be around a process where you begin to be very aware of your body and what it is communicating to you.
Yep, because soma is your body, your or
Okay.
every part of your body. That's what the Latin of soma. That's
I
why
think
it's
I think
somatic.
I think it's good because we often we kind of talk about these terms that we don't always know what they mean. So we're getting into the what does embodiment mean? What does somatic mean? So when we hear that, we can begin to understand, oh, okay, this is a process of learning how to listen to your body.
And that's hard because we've learned really well not to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We've done a great job of ignoring our bodies. Hmm.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, this is challenging me a lot to think about my own experiences here. So let's talk more about this ventral vaga state. Can you, because that's another term I hear often, and it's like, but no one ever really says, well, what exactly is that? So tell me, how does it fit with the nervous system? Talk to me more about that, Sharon.
Okay.
Ventral
So
vagal state.
ventral vagal is a nervous system that you need to wire. It's not a state. If you have a ventral vagal system, you can get into a parasympathetic state. Because when you were born, you had you have an autonomic nervous system. It started 3 weeks in your uterus. You can sympathetically drive your baby. I'm crying and screaming, or I'm parasympathetic. I'm sleeping and happy or relaxed. Those are all you have. You don't have the ventral vagal. Of the parasympathetic, there's dorsal vagal, which you have when you're a baby, and that will shut you down, make you go to sleep. If you're really hyper intense, a lot of emotion, and you're crying and screaming, the body says, we better shut her down before she blows. And we go into dorsal vagal, which is why, oh, the baby stopped crying. Yeah, because it had to go into a dorsal vagal break state. I have to freeze you to stop you from being so intensely intense. The ventral vagal is something that needs to be built with the caregiver, and that requires all that wonderful work and all the wonderful things that an attached mama provides you. You're being held when you need to. You're being heard for what needs to be heard for your needs. You're being supported enough to also, as you grow up, I can try and crawl and I can try and walk, and she's not doing everything for me. I'm being supported because when we're stressed, we can do anything if somebody has our back, being supported. We being seen for who we really are and what we really need. We're being understood on a level that supports us, like deeply foundation for stability, and we're being loved unconditionally, meaning all those things are happening to build that ventral vagal. So, what is ventral vagal? That is the capacity. So, here is down here safety, happiness, balance, right? And here is I just hurt myself and I'm crying and crying. I'm up at the peak. I'm up at the peak. Now, when mama's here, I can complete it and go back to safety. But when my ventral vagal, I don't have it and self regulate on my own, I'm at peak, but I either have like, and I bet some of you can relate to this. I'm perfectly fine. Then one thing upsets me and I'm like, Boom, gas pedal to the floor because you didn't build the ventral vagal, and it's not your fault. The ventral vagal needed 17 years or more to be built, and that is the difference between I'm doing really well. Oh, that just annoyed me. Oh, gee, there's some frustration building. I'm sensing that. I'm really getting frustrated. Oh, you know what? It's going into I'm getting angry now, and now I might even be rage. So ventral vagal gives us that titration of emotion. Our body regulates it and doesn't overwhelm us with from here to
So it's not a bell curve, it's a rise and then it could go down, or if it goes all the way to the top, then it goes down.
well, the bell curve is the height of your experience. So like
Okay.
what
It
kind of
could be a
pain
very small bell
it
curve,
can
or it
be,
could be a very huge bell curve.
which is what I advise, and you'll find this on my YouTube channel, I believe. Capacity building. We practice the little things like I stub my toe. Let me feel this. Let me feel it fully, the full intensity of it, because most of us don't.
Okay.
We walk away. We shut it down. I'm not going to feel this. So we practice feeling the little things because then our body can feel the deep stuff that we shut down. But that I've I play on myself and practice on myself through all these years. And what I've noticed, and I preach it, anything that I've been saying, I'm on tons of podcasts and everything. We are a self-healing machine. When we are in our parasympathetic state, and we are self-healing. Every system is heal, nourish, detox, perfect. So when I started practicing this, hit my funny bone, and I want to see, oh, how much can I feel? And I invite it to get like painful. But I stub a toe, I do this or that. The other day I was at a party, I hit myself, and someone says, "Oh, you're going to be black and blue." I said, "No, I'm not," because I stood there, I let myself fully feel it, and when I say full it, I mean, I feel the full intensity of it. I stay with it. I feel it. I let it start to come down. I'm noticing it's coming down. I don't stop there, Laureen. That's not integration. I stay with it. I stay with it till it's totally gone. That's integration. The next
Okay.
day, there's no black and blues. There's no soreness. There's no pain. I healed it right there on the spot because that's what my body's designed to do.
And so what we're really talking about here is, in my mind, we we learn how to fully experience our experiences.
Perfect. I love that. You
Yeah.
are
Okay. And that over time, I mean, initially that may take time because we haven't cultivated that skill set of this is happening. How do I feel? Walk my way through it, go up, and then calm it back down. But eventually, like writing with the pencil or the pen, we learn this so that it happens more rapidly. Because, my gosh, if I experienced everything fully, I could only have like two or three experiences a day, and I'm probably having 3,000 or 4,000 or 40,000 if I think about my life, right? So it's committing to this notion that for a while now, I am going to be very aware and I am going to notice everything about what I experience with the intention of bringing myself back to a place of safety, quote unquote.
And so you have to build those pathways to be totally aware and feel, which is why I invite people, set your timer every hour. It's a check-in. It's like, oh, what do I notice in my body? You don't have to change anything. You're just paying attention to your body, and your body goes, oh, she's paying attention to me for a moment. And that starts building the pathway. And then you start building that trust because then when you start noticing, geez, I'm feeling this or I'm feeling that, you might want to work on it. Or you could just notice, oh, I'm feeling it. That's okay. But we have to build that capacity. It's called capacity and resilience to be a self-regulating machine that can experience everything. And here's a thing that people are just blown away with. If we were like this self-regulating and had mommy that was this secure attachment, emotions like 90 seconds is all it really takes for a body to process. I've
Hmm.
been with people for a half an hour trying to process something, and we still don't get it all because we have shut down so much. But if we could just let it go and be every and I can remember my experience. I fell off my bike. I skinned myself deeply. I walked myself home sobbing and crying and sobbing and crying. And finally it was done and it was over with I can have a memory without a visceral experience because it healed. But really, 90 seconds is about the maximum. If your nervous system is really wired well and your ventral vagal is wired well, it takes
Hmm.
about 90 seconds.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And quite amazing, actually. So it eventually becomes an automatic response.
Right, which is why in the beginning you need help, you need support, you need to work on it over and over
Mhm.
and over to build the capacity of and build that ventral vagal system so that it can do its work. And you don't have to spend like, oh gosh, I'm sick to my stomach. I'm activated, and now I'm going to go in my room and I'm going to breathe and I'm going to feel. And it takes 10, 15 minutes or more, and sometimes it doesn't even happen to try
Yeah.
to regulate.
So many women will experience physical symptoms, especially at our age, like a tightness, a fatigue, a chronic stress, anxiety, but they don't recognize or realize that these are nervous system signals.
Mhm.
What are some of the ways that the body tries to communicate that it is overwhelmed?
So, depending on how aware you are, you know, like I can go be at a party and like I've had enough people, like I've had to show up, I've had to talk, I've had to this and that. And I know I can tell my body's telling me, this is too much. And I know because I want to pull away, just like a baby. When a baby's looking and mommy's doing and it's had too much, it glances away, it pulls away, and it goes into itself to heal and refresh itself.
Mhm.
Um, Really, the ways it happens for most of us is we get sick or we have a symptom, and because we aren't in tuned enough to see it before it's too much.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I can say I can feel it early on, and that's part of the work I have people work with too is start to pay attention to how your body shows up in all the different ways that it can. Where is sadness in your body? Where is grief? Where is um, pain? Where is anger? Where is it? How does your body show up? And as you build this capacity, it's so much easier to feel it show up. Like, oh, my fists might have clenched and my gut might have done this because that's how the body shows up. So your little baby kid that's now in fifth grade and needs to go on stage, Mommy, I have butterflies in my stomach. Yep, that's your body saying, I'm not safe. Do you have butterflies in your stomach? Because the vagus nerve innervates all of our organs and everything here and sends up a signal to the brain to say, how are we feeling? And so butterflies are a perfect example of I'm not quite overwhelmed, but I am not safe.
Hmm. So we have physical symptoms that will tell us we are moving into overwhelm, but also we have emotions that will tell us, right? I mean, I'm
Yeah.
trying to imagine as an adult, how would I know I'm getting into overwhelm?
Well, I guess if you would explain what emotions are to you, because the sensations to me are entwined with emotions.
Okay,
Like,
so like when
like the
you were
body,
talking, go ahead.
so the body, um, so we'll say there's more nerves telling my brain what's going on. So I've got butterflies. I'm feeling the butterflies in my stomach. It's sending the signal up to my brain. And now my brain's going to tell me, "Oh, I don't really want to do this. I'm going to have a thought or I'm going to have an emotion. Like I feel like, and that's why I'm asking what emotion is for you. Or I feel like I'm going to be sick to my stomach. Because for me, emotion is the the feeling state along with a mental state.
So what I'm hearing now is it's not emotions. Emotions are driven by what our body is feeling,
Yeah.
right? So
Mhm.
if I'm feeling butterflies in my stomach, I learn to associate that with nervousness, and I say I'm feeling nervous.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, here's the one big thing I know from my body. When my body will say, we've got to go. It's time to leave right now. And I have this overwhelming urge to just leave wherever I am. And I have learned to listen to that. That is a clue. Okay, we're not staying much longer. It's time to go. Or I'm not doing this again because every time I do it, my body wants to get out of it. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
Oh, yeah.
I have learned that my body will tell me this is not right for you anymore, whatever it is. It could be going into a meeting. It could be recently I was invited to speak somewhere, and my body was like, no, do not, no, just no. It was so loud. It was like, no, we're not doing that. And I don't know how to explain it other than it was just this urge to like get up and go. It was like, no. And so I declined the opportunity because my body just said, this is not aligned with you. This is not, don't do it this. You're not going to be happy. Does that make any sense? Is
Oh,
that
yeah,
what we're
that's
talking about here?
exactly
Yeah.
that's exactly the way it works. And when you build more capacity and more resilience, creating a strong, healthy ventral vagal nervous system, you may you may be your body may say, we can do this. I have less symptoms. I'm more just butterflies. And that can be exciting because any activation, whether it's scary or we could see that as exciting, that the excitement as we build up. And it could be seen as exciting and we can perform it. But it all depends on the state of your nervous system and how much resilience that you have. So, like 2 years
Yeah.
from now, you might be like, oh, I'm excited. I'd be asked to speak, and you'll get symptoms, but they won't be debilitating. Like they'll be more like exciting. Oh, I'm being up there.
No, this is different, I guess. For me, this was not aligned with who I was.
Ah,
And the body was telling me, I mean, I speak all the time. I'm not
oh,
nervous about
okay.
that. It
Okay.
was no,
Yeah,
it,
well,
no.
thank you for listening to your body.
Yeah, and it did. And so I mean, at least I'm interpreting what you're telling me today as that was my body saying this is not right for you. And if I were to say yes, because often I want to say yes,
Mhm.
and I'll say yes even when my body is saying don't do this. And then we get into a situation where now I'm really stressed out because I said yes to something that was not aligned with who I am.
So let me go over something. Our autonomic nervous system, it's our limbic brain, our primitive brain that runs our
Mhm.
show. It's going to make you jump out of a car. It's going to make you, your reflexes, your heart's working because you have a limbic system. And it's making our ability to arouse get activated, either upset or whatever, our ability to sleep, our ability to breathe, our ability to keep a chemical balance, whether you go pee or poop, that's all part of the limbic system. That's out of our control to the most degree. But when we've built a nervous system that lives in fight or flight, all those are highly, highly tuned to be, we don't sleep well, we get highly aroused, our breathing is shallow. We can get IBS, like, geez, I can't go because I'm constipated, or I go too much, I'm in diarrhea. And our whole body is off key when we are not in a parasympathetic state, but we're in an activated sympathetic state. And the limbic system is what puts you in those states. Because if you didn't, the dorsal state can happen, and it's happened to many of my clients, and it's called a functional freeze. But you push, 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 and your body's telling you, I'm tired, but you still do your work and you still push yourself. And then the body says, darn it, I'm going to put her in bed for a week because that's the dorsal vagal reflex saying, You can't push me like this. You didn't listen to one of the things I was telling you. I was telling you my body ached. I was telling you I was tired. I was telling you all this stuff. You ignored me. So now I'm going to shut you down and then I will help you repair in a dorsal vagal state.
Hmm. Interesting. So much to learn, and our bodies are our teachers.
Yes, they are. And they're our best friends, people. They aren't betraying you. They're always keeping you safe every single time. You might have betrayed it.
Yeah. More often than not, at least me speaking for myself, I have betrayed it. I do the ignoring thing quite often. So let's talk a little bit about things that are stuck in us. So we have, like you said earlier, we have experiences that we didn't fully process through and they stay in us. And that builds over time. So I'm really thinking about our childhood, but it could be even our early adulthood where we've had experiences that just never quite got processed and kept us at this higher level versus this lower level of, for a lack of a better word, relaxed or the sense of being safe. How do we, if we want to work through that and perfect or at least get closer to a more relaxed, natural state of being, what would be the first step, Sharon?
So the first step would be start to connect to your body and
Okay.
listen to it. You don't even have to do anything, just connect. And what does that mean, Sharon? That means I stop and I drop into my body, meaning I go and see how it feels in there.
Okay.
What is showing up? And often it's pain because that's what we pay attention to. But there's often other things. And if dropping into your body doesn't feel right because it's been so painful, I say, what feels good? Like maybe my pinky feels good. Maybe I can go there. But we want to drop in and notice what it's like to actually feel and pay attention to what your body's sensations and signals are telling you. And then we want to every day get into a parasympathetic state or try, because you cannot force your non-autonomic nervous system to say, you're safe. Because how many times did you try to feel better? Your body will feel safe when you give it the environment that it needs, the right lighting, the right temperature. The door's locked, nobody can come in. You know this is a safe place. You've looked around, there's nobody coming. And you invite yourself to lay and feel, or the most comfortable position you can get in. And you invite the body to say and feel, okay, and let that come in. Can I let this, receive this? And that's why we're going to do a little guided practice. I have this longer version on in the Insight Timer. Um, but sometimes we need help and support, which is what my work is, because it's not comfortable to feel safe on our own. We've never done it, and we don't know how to get there. But we have to know that there's another place to live that's safer and feels better. And we practice and practice and practice that so it becomes part of who we are, and we can start self-regulating.
Let's do that meditation now.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to invite you all to take some time and notice wherever you're at that you have arrived, meaning what? Like notice your feet are on the floor or your butt is in the chair, and that your spine is keeping you up or laying down. Just notice that I'm in this space and I'm fully here. And then notice your feet on the floor. And notice your body in space. Notice the breath without trying to change it. It'll always tell you how you feel. Notice the boundaries of your skin. Notice where the clothing is on the skin and how that feels. And then draw your attention to a place where the skin is not covered. And how does that feel? And then I'm going to invite you to bring your awareness and attention to your eyes and notice the softness or tightness around the corner of the eye. And what is the lid doing? Is it soft? And is the eyebrow soft or is it curled in? Just notice if you can let the eyeball just sink into that socket. Let those eyeball drop back into the head and down. Let it drop down too. And you might need to practice that a few times of letting that eyeball drop back and down. Then there will be a reaction to that. And under the closed lid, what do you see? Just notice that. And then I'm going to invite you to notice what's going on in your mouth. What are you tasting? Move the tongue around. What's on the roof? What's on the bottom and the sides and the teeth? And how does it taste? Do you like it? And then I'm going to invite you to notice some sounds. First, I'm going to invite you to notice something far away, maybe even outside of your building. And then bring your awareness maybe into the building that you're in. And what do you notice for sounds there? And then I'm going to invite you to come right into the room that you're in, the space that you're in, and listen intently. What are you noticing? What's showing up? What do you hear? And it might even be your own body sounds. And I'm going to invite you to smell. Pay attention to what you can smell. Take the breath in. What are you noticing? And noticing if I like it or I don't. Is this a nice smell? Is this a pleasant smell? Is this an unpleasant smell? Is it neutral? And notice touch. I'm going to invite you to notice where your hands are. Just feel, what is the fabric or the skin or whatever you're touching? Is it soft? Is it warm? What is the texture? Can you feel where your skin ends and the item that you're on, can you feel that separation? And what if you were to squeeze your hands a little and just put a little pressure? Do you like that? How does that feel? And then I'm going to invite you to notice your breath. And just notice how it shows up now as compared to maybe before when we first arrived. And maybe invite it to be a little fuller, a little deeper, a little longer, and see if you like that. And the meaning, if I like it, my body receives it, and there's a certain amount of letting go that my body's a little safer and it lets go of tension and tightness and holding. And with the breath, you can let that flow and that rhythm fill you up. And each breath, you can let go of a little more. You can consciously invite that letting go. And just noticing the breath moving in and maybe inviting it to go below the belly button into the belly and fill that lower belly. Feel it expand and feel what happens when it leaves this contraction. Just notice the breath and the warmth of it leaving. You can play with feeling come in the nostrils, down the windpipe, way down to the base of the belly. Let it fill till it's comfortable and be with it while it's time to leave. Watch and feel it contracting, going up and out, and the warmth leaving the nostrils. And then you just let it go. You don't ask it to come back. You don't beg it to stay. You've let it go. And notice that. Integrate that you let that go. And now just notice where you're at now and compare it to where you were at when you arrived. And notice if your nervous system state has shifted in any way. If you feel maybe heavier or lighter or calmer, or maybe even the opposite. And then I'm going to invite you to slowly, slowly think about opening your eyes and coming back. And let this be a very slow process, like almost bring the eyelid up and then shut it and see what happens as your body brings in the light and the visual. And notice when you come back how you are. And that's just a teeny tiny little slice of a guided SE meditation. Um, so I'm curious if any of your audience will make any comments on that. Because somebody might respond, oh, my body didn't like it. It felt unsafe and it activated me. And then many people might say, oh, that felt really nice. Who knows? Because your body will always tell you the truth.
It will. It absolutely will. And I think this is a wonderful way for us to end our conversation today. Sharon, I want to thank you so much for bringing your wisdom and your calmness, your steadiness to this conversation. I appreciate greatly, and I'm confident that our listeners, our viewers, also have appreciated the conversation. So thank you.
Thank you.
For those of you listening, for those of you watching, don't think so much about what you thought about this conversation, but really try to focus on what you felt, what you experienced with this conversation. And know that integration does not happen through insight or mental work alone. It happens when something begins to land in your body, when there's even a small shift towards awareness, towards softness, towards safety. And if something in this conversation resonated with you, I encourage you to stay with that, not to rush it. Let it just be, and let it be something you can come back to over the course of the next several days, weeks, months, however that works for you. Um, this conversation to me today feels like an opening, one that I know many women, that it will stay with many women who are listening. And for that, again, Sharon, I thank you greatly. For those of you listening and watching, there is some information in the show notes to this podcast that you can connect with Sharon for more information, for more experience with this work. She has also agreed to generously share this practice that we just went through. We'll pull it out of the recording and offer it as a audio meditation that you can take away with you and use, and you'll find the link to that as well. If you have found this episode interesting and meaningful to you, I would invite you to share it perhaps with another woman who might need to hear the same message right now. And if you would like to continue exploring your own development and growth through this process we all go through of change and transition as we get older, please look for a link to sign up for my e-newsletter, Brilliant Beyond 50. And we go deeper with these types of conversations in those newsletters, in our newsletters. For those listening again, I thank you all for being here. Sharon, it has been a total delight. I look forward to learning more and more from you as we get to know each other and work together on other things, who knows what. And so with that, blessings to you all, and thank you for listening.